Hey everybody, welcome back. We're going to do a quick statistical recap of our Russian Roulette random race challenge here. I went through the videos and pulled out some numbers. I want to kind of show you guys sort of what I saw as I made sense of it. I mean, obviously, it's a random challenge, right? So a lot of stuff happens, and it's kind of like, well, gee, how likely was all that? So I want to kind of take you through, and I'll show you what I've got here. So first thing, as we come back to the battle where we left off, it's just kind of the generations of characters, right? So we have a 7, so that means he turned over 6 times. We've got a 7, a 5, 4, 3, 7, and an 8. So again, so 7 plus 6 plus 3 is 16, plus 2 is 18, plus 4 is 22, plus 6 is 28. So we turned over characters 28 times. And of those, obviously, what we kind of knew was playing, right? The guy who's the 4 and the 3 were the ones that towards the end were like, God, I really don't want to lose these guys. Let's kind of talk through what that was. And so also I went through and looked at the experience that these guys have. So obviously we've got 12.8 on her. We've got just a little over 1 million on the lowest guy. For perspective, Sachs had around 11 or almost 12, and Vi had probably a little bit over. I don't have a save from before she left the party, but yeah, we did a few more things with Vi than we did with Sachs. Like she got credit for Glump and things like that. So yeah, I mean that's the basics. I'm gonna exit out of here just so I don't have that noise in the background the whole time. We come back if we need to. And so what I did is I went through and did kind of the history of all the character transformations we had. I also noted experience every time the top guy rolled over. So this is how I got a sense of what the total experience was that we gained. It's not perfect because sometimes not every character survived every fight and things like that. But at least in terms of close enoughness, I think it's there. Yeah, you look. We had a Lizardman fighter, Felper alchemist. Valkyrie, Lizardman Valkyrie, Draken Valkyrie, Human Mage, Felper Rogue. I actually forgot that we'd started with the Rogue because my later Rogue was such a disappointment. I forgot I actually tried that at the beginning of the game. First level up. Yeah, our Lizardman is going to be our highest level character for a while here. Brought in a Human Mage. We then and I use gray here to indicate that these guys had not leveled up yet. So anytime there's a character change where the guy did not level up from the previous one, that's gray. Anytime I did a class change, I flagged those as yellow, and obviously the greens are the new guys. So what you'll see here, actually, this is a good example. This Lizardman Valkyrie actually became a Lizardman fighter. But then changed to when I re-rolled it, it was already a fighter, so I could make it a Valkyrie. So you're not going to always see everything that happens in between. So, for example, I don't know what's a good one. That as this guy leveled up here, well, no, that's probably not a good example. From here to here, this dwarf Valkyrie probably was at least level 8 by the time she was re-rolled to a new character here. So if she became a 9 or even a 10, I wouldn't have that here. I just know that by the next time I did the party, it was a 1. So anyway, got a Valkyrie in for our fighter, I guess at that point. Draken Priest for a bishop. This is our first attempt at a battle priest. Brought another mage in. You'll see this mage bishop thing a lot, and maybe I won't do the class changes so much anymore if I do them again. But you'll see basically every time I bring a mage or a caster, and I usually roll them to bishop for the next classes, and obviously that allows a little bit of gaming the system in that. Here's an example somewhere probably. Oh yeah, right here. So mage to bishop, and then I can bring another mage in. Back to bishop. I can bring another mage in. Back to bishop. Brought a psionic in finally. Again to bishop. So it does kind of let me keep genning a mage, which it's kind of an exploit of the self-imposed rules, but it's still I think kind of within the spirit. I might do another run without class changes just to see what that looks like. Be interested in your guys' feedback on that. So yeah, and then you'll see I've got in bold here every time wherever the highest level character is. So let's continue. We were here. Bishop became a mage. Our alchemist became a Raoul fighter. Dragon Valkyrie for Dwarf Alchemist. And then we finally lost our top level guy after seven turns of having our original fighter. We finally got a Valkyrie in here. Um, Also, I wanted to flag. I grabbed a couple different zones which were interesting. This block of six right here was interesting because every character turned over. I got 6 out of 6 for rolling a different character every time, or different number here every time. And that, I'll just tell you, statistically is super unlikely. We'll go into what that probability is. So yeah, basically by here the whole party had turned over. And at that point, our wolf fighter became, who had actually just brought in 2 turns prior, is now our number one level guy. It's mostly because all these other guys are hybrids or elites. You'll see that the fighter classes usually end up becoming the top level character pretty quickly, just because the level ups go so much faster on those basic guys. All right, so here's one of again, Valkyrie to fighter. We probably made that switch right at level 2, but I didn't grab the stats until we got to level 6, or we got when we replaced this fighter. And here you can get a good sense that these happen in pretty close succession, because these guys did not have a chance to level up as the fighter did. So pretty quick that we went right from one change here to another. Again, those kinds of things are what really set a party back in development. Lizardman fighter for our Draken priest, bishop to a gnome mage, Valkyrie to mage. Again, our mage became bishop to psionic. Fighter here, we finally, so after 5 turns here, 5 rolls here, we finally had to replace our wolf fighter. We brought in a Valkyrie, and strangely enough, the number 1 spot bounced right back to our top guy. So even though this guy was replaced right here, again, our number 1 character is already the top level again, just a few turns later, or a few cycles later. This one didn't last too long. We replaced our alchemist with a priest, and actually right here, this is probably the most significant part right here. Let me flag that if I can. This one, it doesn't show too well. This one here, she ends up lasting for the end of the game, and this is our earliest of a character that's going to survive all the way through. And so this is, I didn't label these. What, P is the 16th letter, C is 13. So this is like after like 12 or 13 cycles in. So maybe about halfway through the game from a role perspective, we finally have someone who's going to survive the entire game. All right, so again, quick switch over here. We now have our next highest level character here be this fighter. Another quick switch over, right? Only last 2 turns here. Let's see. Yep. So again, bishop to fighter here, fighter to rogue. This rogue was such a mistake in retrospect. I don't think I'll ever do that again if I can avoid it. They require too much to develop, and they just don't do enough damage. Maybe if I did a rogue with instead of daggers, I actually had a sword and dagger. I don't know. I'm not going to do a dagger rogue again. Okay, so yeah, so now again, just 2 levels here, or 2 rolls here of this guy, 2 rolls here of this guy, 4 rolls here, 1 roll here. You start to see that this is where all the churn started to happen. Right, so bishop to fighter, bishop to alchemist, fighter to mage, fighter to samurai. Again, that samurai became a fighter right away. You'll see that in a few places. This Mook alchemist also survived until the end of the game. So that's our next permanent character or surviving character. You'll notice how much later this is and everything else, but again, as a fighter, the levels went up so much faster. For a while, as you might remember, this priest was kind of carrying the show. And again, she had much higher experience compared to absolutely everyone else. And fortunately, we did not lose her. That would have really set us back. Okay, fighter to ranger. Again, the same kind of trick, right? I made a ranger just so I could make a fighter. Same thing here. Made a samurai just so I could make a fighter. Made a Valkyrie just so I could make a fighter. Um, Kind of, I'm sort of bending the rules a little bit there. So we'll figure out if we want to do that again in the future. And then yeah, this dwarf priest actually, like you said, survives all the way through until the Mook fighter overtakes her. So we've actually got a run right at the end, which is really nice, of 9 levels. Um, I'm not going to go through all the changes here. I want to call out a couple things that are interesting. The most how did I do that? I did the wrong highlight. I wanted this one. So this Mook Alchemist was a survivor. This Fairy Ninja right at the end. This was the Mage right at the end. This Ranger, which became a fighter, and this Valkyrie that became a fighter. So yeah, those are the 6 guys that survived. It might be, I think you guys can see that pretty well. I'll just flag them here because I can. I'll give them a different green. So that's where our survivors ended up coming in. The other thing that I want to point out from a pattern perspective is look at all the replacements. It's always switching. Here, it's always a different character. I never get the same replacement roll twice. And we'll talk about how likely that is. But not until the very end here. Like this is like our 20, I think I said figured out 25th exchange. I finally got the same character's roll. I rolled number 1 2 rolls in a row. Again, super unlikely that makes it all the way to the end here. How unlikely? We'll talk about that in just a sec. And then, like I said, I added up all the experience. I guessed again. Basically, every time the number 1 guy was replaced, I was noting what his experience was. I added it all up plus what experience the ninja had at the end. Had roughly 13, almost 14 million experience acquired in the game. And of that, interestingly, this dwarf priest that lasted for so long for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, about 15 rolls or so. Got 93% of that experience. She is like 12.8, 12.9. That's 93% of the experience we earned. The Mook fighter, 82%. This fighter 62, 55. The ninja, which came at the end, still got like over 20% of the experience we count in the game. A lot of that's just because of Ascension Peak and just how much experience you can get there. And then the mage right at the end, just a 1 million out of the maybe roughly 14 million or so that we got in the game. So interesting. I'm curious to see what you guys make of this, and I'm happy to share this if anybody wants to look at it. I want to call out 2 other things. We talked about how unusual this was, rolling 6 different numbers in a 6-roll span. We had something similar here in this 7-roll span. We rolled all 6 numbers. And again, in this 7-row span, which has a little bit of overlap, we rolled 6 numbers. And those are statistically really hard to, that's something that's just really hard to do. So let's talk about that. So if you look at some of the real outliers we had that one case where in 6 rolls, we rolled 6 different numbers. That's basically 1.5% chance that you're going to do that in just 6 rolls. The fact that we had it happen, and then in a 7-roll span, to get 6 numbers in a 7-roll span is about 5.5%. Again, this happened once to us, and this happened twice. Super unlikely, but it does happen. And then what we talked about, how we didn't roll the same character twice in a row until right up here at the very end. This roll right here, to go, I think I figured 25 rolls without a duplicate. That's like a 1% thing. You basically are looking at a 5-6 chance 25 times, and that comes out to about 1%. So kind of unlikely, kind of unlucky, but again, it's random. So are we balanced out to some degree by the fact that this priest and this mook lasted so long? Kind of. Let's talk through the likelihood of those numbers. So um, went through and basically how often is your leading character going to turn over. So we had the first guy ran for 7 turns. That's what this is. So I'm showing now in this. I've got 7 turns here, 5 turns here, 2, 2. I'm looking at those numbers here. So 7, 5, 2, 2, 4, just 1 turn of turnover. And then at the end, it was 5 turns of the Valkyrie and then 4 turns of that Mook fighter. Together, they really count as a 9. Because the lead switched from the Valkyrie to the fighter. So ending the game with 9 rolls of not losing my number one. Less likely, but totally within the realm. It's about a 19, almost 20% chance that would happen. So if you look at the distribution, we had one time when it was immediate replacement, twice where the lead character was replaced after 2 turns. Once at 4, once at 5, one run of 7 right at the beginning. So if you kind of look at it, the break point is right between 3 and 4. So we had basically 1 that was about average, 3 that were below average, and 3 that were above average. If you were to figure out how long a character is likely to live, that's down here. So this is basically showing that. After 15 rolls, you've only got a 6% chance of keeping your character, and I'll expand that out just a little bit to see where it really breaks down. But yeah, 20 rolls is about 2%. Obviously, it gets really hard to get down into the really low digits. But towards the end, we got to here, and that was how we finished the game. So that's kind of all I have to share from a stats perspective. Again, not justifying, complaining, rationalizing, whatever. Just kind of giving you a sense of what I saw as I started to look through the numbers and try to break it down. Be interested in your input and feedback. So let me know what you think. Again, thanks for watching. See you next time. I'm not sure what kind of videos I'm going to be putting up next. I've actually got some Wii stuff I've been wanting to do. I might do that in my spare time, but I'll probably do either another Russian roulette, but also been looking at a solo rogue. Let me know. I'm curious what your thoughts are for what you guys would like to see. So appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time with something new. Thanks. Bye.